Good evening, everyone. Here we are in the Zen Garden of Mr. Peter and Miss Martha, and the frogs are croaking in the ponds in the property next door. It just goes to show you how much life a pond can support. That's something you guys probably don't get to hear because you usually leave before this happens, but it's an amazing part of the summertime. Probably billions of frogs living there. So this garden's theme is that it's a Xeric Garden. So that's spelled Xeric, I believe. And that just is a fancy word for dry. So Xeric means dry, or you could call it, a desert garden, but really it's any plant that doesn't need a lot of water, and people are trying to promote having these types of gardens because in a lot of places we're lucky that we do get rain. In a lot of places like California, Arizona, they're not allowed to water their gardens constantly or keep lawns. They just don't have enough water, so they have to find plants that they can grow without water. And so that's what we're doing here in this garden. And one of my goals is just to show how easy that can be. There's a marigold in bloom. So we've mixed in some wildflowers that also do not need a lot of water. This is a century plant, which is in the agave family. And these are not native, but they're related to a native plant we have, the yucca, and they're called a century plant because they say they only bloom once every 100 years. Now, I don't know if that's true, but it is very rare when they bloom, and a lot of times after they bloom, then they die. So they'll send up this gargantuan shoot. I mean, by the time they do this, they're going to be 50 times the size of this plant. These are just babies. They're going to be like as big as 15 people, and then they send up a shoot that's as big as a tree, and it blooms up at the top. It looks a lot like an agave bloom, and it that's it. Then it's done with its life cycle. It makes seeds, and then the seeds start all over again. Now, this plant is native. This is called a prickly pear, and it is edible. It has these purple pears that are supposed to have some of the best nutrition available on Earth. And you can also eat the pods. So, if you go to a Mexican restaurant, you can often order where they shave off the skin and they grill the inside. This is called the pod, and put it in a burrito, and it's really delicious. Now, I haven't done it just because I'm a little bit nervous. I don't know how exactly they prepare it. So the thing about the prickly pear is that you look at it and you think, oh, I got this covered. I'm just not going to touch the needles. Well, there's more than just those big needles that you see. There's teeny tiny needles. So they're just microscopic, and they're so small you can't get them out, so don't touch it. So it would be something you would do with gloves, and then we'd have to ask somebody who knows what they're doing to tell us how to prepare it. And over here we have a fig tree. So I have planted a lot of plants in this garden that you might find in the Mediterranean, because the Mediterranean is very hot and dry. It has similar climate to like California. But this plant was planted before I got here. It's at least 4 years old, and it's really maturing well. It has lots of baby figs on it. They're getting ready for summer. And figs grow really well in desert climates, and they produce a lot of food. So a good thing to have on hand to be self-sufficient. Now let's come over here, and the passion flower that we looked at earlier, just a month and a half ago, wasn't blooming at all. Now it's blooming. This is the native passion flower. It has kind of a white bloom and these purple spikes. Just beautiful. And then here you can see there's buds, and it's also starting to make fruit. So we'll keep our eyes out as we go along the fence line for some fruit. We have another olive tree. It has a waxy leaf, which means to me that it could survive well by salt water, which makes sense. Like in Greece, you have olives everywhere, and it's all islands everywhere surrounded by the Mediterranean. Do you guys recognize these? These have been in other videos. So we have cross vine, thicker and healthier now, but there's the cross of the cross vine. Do you remember this one? This is pokeweed, and it has that magenta stem that's just beautiful, makes it very easy to recognize. And I saw a fruit. Here it is. There we go. There's the passion fruit. It's not ready. It's got to be all yellow to be ready, but it's very edible. It's a native edible fruit, and you can put them in a blender and make a smoothie. They have seeds, but the seeds are edible. They're easier to eat when they are blended. This is hummingbird vine, and then we have blackberry. This is native weed. It really will get you. It has, I don't know if you can see that it is just covered with spikes, little teeny tiny spikes that are going to get you. So we'll weed it from here. We'll let it grow in the woods right next door, and then we'll pick the blackberries when you come back in the fall. It will really be the end of summer, and we'll pick those. Now, this is an important plant to know. I'm not going to touch it, but I want you to look closely. Do you know what it is? It has 3 leaves, and it's red, pinky on the inside. This is poison ivy. So leaves of 3, leave it be. It has like a toothed edge. It's not really a lobe. It's not really a serration. It's like a, I can't remember the official term for that, but it's not a smooth edge. It's not like a typical smooth edge. So that's another clue. These are things you want to remember. Now, poison ivy grows different here in the south than it does up north. Up north, this is as big as it gets. It just grows out of the ground. Here, it'll turn into a vine and grow all the way up a tree and actually get like a very hairy, thick, woody vine. So that hairy vine that you see in the woods sometimes is poison ivy. So we don't like poison ivy, but it actually has a very nutritious berry, and birds actually depend on it and eat it. So over there we have mimosa tree. There's the playground. This mimosa tree is not native. It's actually invasive, but I just can't bring myself to kill it. It makes a wonderful shade, and it grows fast. So we're hoping this tree someday it's going to shade the playground, and it's going to shade your picnic table. And I want you to say thanks, Miss Samantha, for planting that 10 years ago. It's going to be so much shadier. Do you guys remember what these are? Now, 3 lobes, but not 3 leaves. So that's the passion vine that we're growing. And it is growing native and wild to the point where we're even weeding it in some places. We have stokesia, younger stokesia, more Dusty Miller, This is Coreopsis. It's a native wildflower that can handle drought conditions. It has all those tiny little yellow flowers that we see a lot of. This is called sea oxeye daisy. If you go to the beach or sometimes near the marsh, like even downtown by the marina, it's blooming on the edges of the beach and the marsh right now. It's a daisy and it's yellow and it's native. This one's young. We got it from DNR, gave this to us as a thank you gift to the sea turtle volunteers, so we're gonna have those. They're very hardy, if they can grow on the edge of the marsh, but they're small, so we have to take care of them now. Oh look, there's a toad. Oh. He's almost impossible to see, but he's in the picture. He's so camouflaged. He has almost a leopard print. He's very beautiful. He's trusting his camouflage. He's hoping I can't see him. Alright, he went right out the bunny hole. So there's the little tunnel where the bunny comes and goes. I mean, she can come and go. It's kind of hard to see on the camera, but it's an obvious little bunny tunnel. She's smaller than she looks. She's fluffy, but I saw her once crawl through like one of those squares on the fence, and that's not very big, so she was all fluff. More goldenrod, also very drought tolerant. Now this one is another Mediterranean plant. This is lavender, so perfect for the Xeric Zen Garden. I miss you guys. I hope you're doing well. Aloha.